Hello, everybody. How are you all doing? Hope y'all have had a great day. It's Friday Eve. You know, I'm always on Friday Eve. So that's always a good thing. Whenever you see my face, you know it's close to the weekend, baby. Woo! And then more importantly, I have off all next week. Come on now. Ain't God good? So I consider myself to be on a 9-day vacation. So after tomorrow at 4:30, baby, it's on and popping. How y'all doing? So if y'all would, you know the drill. Just go ahead and share and start a couple of watch parties. Even though I haven't been able to do it, I don't know if it's operator error, which could very well be, or Facebook has taken the watch party thing off. So at any rate, go ahead and share our conversation, and we'll get started in just a few seconds. Let me get my Facebook together, and then we'll be ready to go. Call somebody and let them know we're on, because we're going to have a good conversation tonight. Y'all need to know about this, because we don't like to talk about legacy. We don't like to talk about wills and all that stuff, and you know we don't talk about that. But we're going to talk about it all tonight. So just get ready.
Say, hey, y'all. Danielle saying, hey, y'all.
Oh.
That's true.
Oh. I see you, Danielle.
Legacy when it's about being rich.
Yes.
Little too late then.
You got that right. I think I got it. So if not, we're gonna pretend like I got it. Okay. I ain't got it. Oh, where is Danielle when I need her? I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to share it on my personal page from the professional page, and it's just not acting right. So I'm going to leave it, and we're going to go on. Let me try one more thing. Nope, it didn't come up. I don't know why. I'm sorry. I'm going to try it one more time. Well, I can't get it to do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't want to waste any more time. So thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm super duper excited about our guest tonight, Melissa Lee West. I knew her back when she was wearing ponytails. I knew her a long time ago. I'm so excited to have her on tonight to talk about one of her passions, legacy, and it's just going to be a great conversation. I would encourage you to go ahead and start putting your questions in, because you know we're not going to be on here all night, so you need to get your questions in now so we can cover those. But Melissa is a published author. She has a couple of businesses that she's involved in. She's involved in a lot of things that she's going to tell you about. But I want to say, first of all, welcome, Mrs. West. How are you?
Thank you. I am doing well. I'm like you. I'm glad it's Friday Eve. I am looking forward to just exhaling. Thank you.
Yes. How are you navigating this pandemic?
You know what? Oh, other than the health part of it, I'm enjoying being home. You know, I'm enjoying that part. So as social as I am, I'm being home. So that part I love. They're like, you're going to be home for a while? That's fine. Yeah. But not being able to get out and do some social things, that's the thing that I miss.
Cool. So tonight we're going to be talking about building a legacy for and through transition. You know, I consider myself to be the transition guru. And I like to talk about everything transition, whether or not you are getting married, you are from single to married, or married to divorce, or you're becoming an empty nester, or anything that relates to transition. Someone in your family has died. Just you're moving into a new home for the first time. You are just graduating from college and you don't know what to do. I like talking about everything that's related to transition. So tonight we want to talk a little bit about legacy. I know we won't be able to talk about everything that relates to legacy, but I want to hit the highlights. But I want to ask you, how did this all come about for you as it relates to legacy?
Actually, it's funny, as you were giving your transition, as your conversation about what you do, it literally started with a transition. If
Wow.
you've been church anytime, the euphemism for death is transition. Right?
Yeah.
Transition, right? And so that's actually kind of how I got into this focus on legacy, right? My father passed away, transitioned to the other realm, and it was like, whoa. I wasn't prepared for it emotionally. I wasn't prepared for it in terms of the vision, because I thought what I saw, he was a part of that. So I was thrust into it. I was thrust into it, and then I just had to say, okay, and start to recollect and say, well, I'm prepared for this. So let me start to figure out what I'm supposed to do. That's how I got with legacy. Yeah.
Wow. Well, first of all, as you already know, your father was a magnificent human being. Let's start there. As a person, I respect him highly. Even in my first book, I reference him as being someone that was important in my life during that time. And we want to thank you for sharing your dad with all of us. He had so many kids, even some of us that were grown, we were still kids that he was taking care of. So we appreciate him, and as well as your mom and your family, for what you all gave to the body of Christ. We are ever indebted to you all for that. Let's start that off at the rip. We thank you for that. We thank you for that.
I need to wear mascara because I don't cry. You're trying to make me cry.
No, girl, no. But it's the truth. If I had 10 people on here, they'll say the exact same thing. We appreciate the Lee family. We appreciate what you all did for us personally, and what y'all did for the kingdom of God. So let me say thank you to that. Now, before we jump, Danielle said we're not crying tonight. Well, the truth make you cry, baby. Go ahead and shed a tear. Let's talk a little bit about some of your endeavors before we go into legacy.
Okay. Well, I would say the endeavor is, I have two. Fit for Legacy is my brand. That's my business. That's the umbrella business. And 3 focal points: wisdom, wellness, and wealth. Those 3 things I focus on with my business. I have a tech business as well, but even that, I leverage my technology background to help people create plans for legacy. Wow. And that's Fit for Legacy. Are you prepared, right? If you transition tomorrow, or you die tomorrow, what happens to your business? What happens to your vision? What happens to what God placed in you to do for the next 100 years?
Yeah.
That's literally why I do what I do. And everything that I may pull in, at the end of the day, it's making sure you're ready to pass it on to the next generation.
Wow. And how can people get in touch with you?
Fit for Legacy, fitforlegacy.com is my website. Fit for Legacy on all social media platforms is where you can find me. You can also find me, Melissa Lee West. I'm a little bit more silly if you follow me on that side of the house, but you're welcome to follow me there as well. But that's how they can find me. Fit for Legacy, Melissa Lee West. All roads come back this way.
So tell us about the book that you wrote a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So I wrote a book called The Wages, The Rise, The Fall, The Redemption. And I always start off by saying 75% of it was true. The 25% was me writing the rest of the legacy, right? With my dad passing away, there was the unfinished business. And so I sat down to write it. It was part therapy. It was part prophecy. It was part creating the life that you want. And that's how the book came to be.
Wow, wow. Well, you are to be commended on that. I remember when I wrote my first book, it was therapeutic as well. When I was looking for what I needed to help me through that time, God said, write your own book. And I was like,
Right. Didn't ask for that, right?
Hey, are you sure you want me to do this? But thanks be to God, it really helped me and it really moved me to the next place. So I'm very thankful for that. When we talk about legacy, when we talk about it, what do you mean when we say leaving a legacy or creating your legacy or building a legacy? What does that mean to you?
It literally means what remains, right? The legacy is the life, what you do today. To me, that's footprints, that's clues, that's hints for the people that come behind you. If you think about being in the forest and hiking, which I don't do that, but and you would leave some trails behind you just in case you got lost. So, and again, I take it back to my dad. There were clues that he made, right? So when my dad passed away, it was, I'm sad he's gone. I wish he was here, but I get to listen to his voice on this audio tape. I get to watch video. I get to look at the very first sermon book from 1970s. Like,
wow,
all these little crumbs that he left.
Yeah.
Doing what God called him to do.
Yeah.
So that's what legacy is, doing what we were created to do, but with intention, right? With intention, leaving some clues behind, connecting the dots.
Wow. That's good. Living with intention and then leaving the clues behind. That's so important because we just feel like we're just going to just rent a party bus and have a good time and just, let the good times roll. And we don't, sometimes I think we don't realize that we're here on assignment. And I'm not saying that, your every waking moment, you must be about the business, but I'm saying that we have to live with intention. I personally believe that we are here to do a thing for God, and when it's over, we go back. That's what I personally believe. I remember a sermon that Bishop Jakes preached. I forgot the name of it, but he talked about when we were up in heaven before we came down here. He demonstrated how God was telling the guy, you're going to go down there. You're going to be born into this family. You're going to be destined to do this. You're not going to remember this conversation. But I'm going to call you and you will answer. So I just believe that we were sent for purpose. And then once that purpose is fulfilled, we return. That's what I believe. And we have to be intentional. Even in having a good time, we have to be intentional. You never know who you're gonna touch or who you're gonna counter. Even in a bar, you never know. You can still make a difference in somebody's life in a bar. I think we've been so.
We got stories about that. We got stories.
I think we've been so conditioned that no, you can't go there. Oh, Christians don't go there. Christians go everywhere, honey. And then when the opportunity presents itself, come on.
Look, wow. Gotta here it go. When we we took a trip, Danielle, Jocelyn, and I, we did a trip to go see First Lady Obama and a group of other people, and we went to do karaoke. And literally, karaoke, bar, straight up ministry. We shut down the bar, and it was just that fast. We had fun up until they shut the lights off and they were about to kick us out. And I don't even remember how it started, but it was something as simple as giving the guy a hug, telling him something. And when I tell you the Holy Spirit showed up,
come on now.
So we found out later he was in ministry. He had a call. We didn't know. We were just doing, again, what our assignment was. But had we been stopped by all those should not, would not, how dare yous, that person may have walked away thinking that God had forgotten about him.
Come on. To me, that's legacy right there. You made an impact on this man that probably brought him back to the kingdom of God. That man may never remember your name, but he'll remember that he had an encounter with somebody in a bar.
Yeah, and we still have connection. Like Danielle said, we still have connection. hey, because the thing was, it was just a conversation to remind him that God was still there. Because again, we still had a relationship with God, but again, all the shouldas, the wouldas, the couldas had gotten in the way.
Yes.
Three ladies from Georgia that didn't know. And like Danielle said, God closed the bar down.
Wow. There's a question in the chat. It says, what will happen to your vision when you transition?
I'll start with the natural. In the natural, when I physically transition, I've got a living trust, and there are instructions. There are instructions for the money. There are instructions for the business. There are instructions for who gets to make the decisions. And if that person goes, there's a backup person. Then there's a backup person. There's a backup person. So that's part of what happens in the natural. And then again, like you said, I believe when I transition, all my babies, God babies, nieces and nephews, the part of them that are part of the vision, they will pick it up and go. That's what
Yes. You know, I don't know what they do in the Caucasian community because I'm not of that persuasion. But I know in the Black community, we don't like talk about this stuff. But I remember going to talk to my dad not too long after my mama died. And he was like, I am talking about that. I don't want to talk about that. And so now, even now, when Danielle's mom died, there was nothing in place. I mean, there was a bunch of life insurance, but there was no direction as to what you want done with that. So now I'm making my business. I have a white binder. Everything is in that binder where all the money is hidden, where all the secrets are.
Make copies of the binder, please.
Yes.
About the binder.
and you know what? Every year when I update my beneficial my package for work, I put a new sheet in there. Because I don't, and it's not that I'm looking to die, but it's just in case something happens, you need to know where everything is, because the bank has a whole bunch of money that don't belong to them.
Come on. That's right. And when you see those commercials about unclaimed property, lost money, that's somebody's money that's in their family, in their legacy, that could be helping to pay off a bill during the pandemic. But because no one knew that mama or daddy had a bank account here, that money is sitting there, and it only sits there for so long. I think it's about 5 years, give or take, and then it's gonna disappear. Guess where? It's not. They're not coming to look for you.
Come on. So what do you tell a person who is just getting into this thing and they say, you know, I want to start working on my legacy. I want to start leaving something for the next generation. What do you tell them? How do they go about it?
Well, and I'm a little different, as not unusual. I'm a little different. I ask them first, visualize the conversation in a couple ways. Number one, if you're a parent talking to a child, okay, Susie Q, like my daddy says, Susie Q. All right, I'm going to be gone one day. And here's what I've done to prepare the way. You're going to be mourning. You're going to be crying, but at least you don't have to be worried about X, Y, Z. So have the conversation. To me, parents probably can do it better to the children than children to the parents. What I found is when the children are talking to the parents and they're taking care of the elders, they don't want to talk about it. But then you have to use a little bit of parent guilt. It'd be like, okay, mama, I love you, and I know you love me, and I know you want to help me to take care. You don't want me to be stressing when you go. So give me 5 minutes of your time to tell me how to have this handled. They're not going to like it, but again, tap into that parent guilt just that one time to start the conversation. And I call it the conversations before the crisis. Crisis comes in all of our lives. Have the conversation at the dinner table before the crisis comes.
Yes. Kenneth Brown says, hey, Ken, he says, preparation is the key to purpose. Absolutely. You are absolutely right. So, and we have to realize that legacy is more than, for me, legacy is more than just knowing where the money is, but legacy is what do I want to leave as an individual, as paving the way for someone else. What do I want to remain even after I'm gone. Like the books that I've written, those things will stay forever. But how? What does it? What do I want people to say about me once I've left this earth?
That's right. That's right. And I had a mentor, Coach Bev. She always said, you know, you leave the place better than you found it. Right.
Yes.
So not just when you're gone, but today, like every job that I've ever taken, every organization that I'm in, and we often heard this, whatever upsets you is your assignment. So when you get into situations, leaving it better than you found it leaves a legacy, a living legacy. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, when I work on a job, I always tell my bosses, my job is to make you look good at all costs.
Yeah.
It's to make you look good. I am not here to be a headache to you. I'm here to be a blessing to you and to this organization.
That's right.
That's how I see it. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say even that is legacy, because when I'm finding in leadership, I take it for granted that everyone thinks like you do, and they don't. You know, a lot of people are collecting a paycheck, right? And but then when I take a leadership role, I'm responsible for me and everyone that's after me, right? And to model the behavior that I want to see, to make sure that, again, the integrity, that my team stands out for the character, for the integrity, right? Because there's maybe somebody that looks like me that comes along and they say, well, we remember what Melissa did in this role, so now we're going to give this other person another chance.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes we do have to be trailblazers. We got to be the first ones. That's just the nature of the place that we live, and we need to make sure that our trail is good. We need to make sure that this trail that we're blazing is something that somebody wants to follow after. And as you said, we always want to leave the place better than when we got there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when we talk about legacy, who do you say the legacy is for?
I would say it's for the people that benefit, but it's also for you. You're the creator. You know, we are created by the creator. And I think the legacy, the mindset gives me purpose. That's what feeds me, right? So for me, the legacy is purpose for me. And it's also benefiting the people that come behind me.
Wow.
So it's twofold.
Wow. Ken says true leaders empower. You are absolutely correct. You are correct about that. So what age do you think that it's appropriate to start working on your legacy?
As soon as you can write. As soon as you can read. I mean, and I remember, you know, my dad would say, as soon as they're 6 months old, they can understand how they can get a whooping, you know, but literally, you know, as soon as you can, because I look back, I wish I had the paper in front of me. My first job out of college, I was in my 20s. I remember writing then the vision, how much money I wanted to make, where I wanted to be in 5 years. I stumbled across it, like, wow, I accomplished all of that. That goes back to my mom being a school teacher and making us write everything down, write your schedule for the summer, write your this. So to me, as soon as you can write, because it shows you the power of the written word and the power of seeing something in front of you. So to me, you don't tell the kid it's legacy then maybe, but they're building those muscles to be able to create legacy.
Wow. Danielle says, my daughter actively works on her legacy regularly. Wow. And when you're working on your legacy, what does that look like?
For me, and I think it's different for everyone, but I would say the foundation is making sure that you have something that's traceable, right? Paperwork, digital backup. So just the physical representation of your work. To me, that's the foundation. And then I'm a strategist. So for me, I like steps. I like checklists. If you have to come to my house and something's happened to me, I don't want you to look in 20 places. I need you to know, here's her folder, her binder. Here's who to call. Here's why to call them. This is the song you should play at her memorial. This is, you know, because I've been in that situation. So for me, when I think about legacy, I put myself in the shoes of someone who would have to make decisions on my behalf. I literally try to cover everything, but more importantly, I make sure my village and my community around me knows me. So anything I may have forgotten, they know the foundation, right?
Mm-hmm. That's important. One thing that you talked about, that you just said, that you hit on, is key: village. You gotta have those people, and you can't be so closed off that you are afraid to talk about it.
Absolutely.
You gotta have the conversation.
You have to.
I recently told Danielle, you know what? I done changed my mind. Girl, cremate me, and honey, take the rest of that money and go on a Disney cruise, honey. Do something. Don't waste that money on all that stuff.
Yeah.
My dad, on the other hand, he said, I don't care what you do, just don't burn me.
That's right. Generational.
No.
Mm-hmm.
But those things, he gave that instruction. So we honored his wish. Danielle says she and her friends have started a business, and they ask people to join their
Zoe
board to help carry out their plan. Okay.
See?
Okay. All right then.
And that's so true. And she just posted, Thanksgiving is coming, have the conversation. And one thing about our people, the oral history, everything is surrounding a meal. So again, when the unrest and the George Floyd and the Breonna Taylors of this year happened, we had the conversation with my nephew around the dinner table. When he was about to talk trash, trying to play spades, we had the conversation. Then we played spades.
Yeah.
And so you fit it in, not so formal, right? But you fit it in. I forgot something I was about to say, but it'll come back to me later. But yeah, absolutely. Conversation.
I think it's so important that now that you mentioned that, we got to have that conversation, baby. You have to be honest with. So, I work at a public school system, and we're talking about race. All of the counselors and all of the social workers are going through this training, dealing with race and dealing with how we feel personally and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So this counselor, who happens to be Caucasian, I said, well, how did you enjoy it? She said, well, I really don't like talking about race in front of people I don't know. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, I think it's a great conversation. I think we all need to, put our cards on the table. I said, because the conversation that we have with our boys is probably the different conversation that you have with your boys. Oh, no, I'm sure it's the exact same thing. I'm thinking to myself, girl, get out my face. You ain't got a clue. It's not the same. I said, we have to tell our boys to make sure you do whatever you need to do to get home alive, and we'll deal with the rest.
That's right.
Once you get in the house.
And even that is the village, because when we had the conversation, my nephew, he's biracial. So his mom is white, his dad is black. He's always lived with his father full time. His mother is very much in the picture, but so his everyday has been the black experience. Mm-hmm. But yet he's been somewhat sheltered. So when this happened, I said, okay, let's have a conversation. Mm-hmm. So the village diversity of opinion came about in that conversation, because you had my brother saying, and the typical parent, just make it home, just be calm. Then you have my husband saying the same thing, just make it home, but you can ask him. And I'm like, don't y'all give him too much. Give him 1, 2. Call us and put your hands on the steering wheel. Keep it simple. But and so here I am, a woman, and I can probably get away with more with the police than he could, right? So here I am, a woman saying, wait a minute, y'all, giving him 10 steps. He's not going to remember that. Give him, if he gets nervous, if he starts to jerk, we got a situation, right? But I also could respect the men's opinion. So when you bring those together, the importance of the village in that conversation.
Yes. The village is so key into our lives, into not just the conversation, not just leaving a legacy. The village is just, I remember when I was going through my divorce, it was my village that helped me get through it. I remember when I was going through chemo and radiation, it was my village and my family that helped me get through that. I have no idea how you do life alone. It's just, I can't even fathom how do you even deal with it, because life can be complex. And so often, and you need that support system. I needed Sharon and Myrtle coming to my house and said, okay, and you getting up off this couch today. Let's go.
Listen.
I needed that.
Yeah.
Because they knew where I was. They knew that I was in a funk, that I was depressed. I was getting a divorce. I was a pastor and wife, and I'm getting a divorce, and blah blah blah. Get up.
Get
Let's
up.
go.
Put some clothes on. And
Yes.
it's funny, even with that, and even the legacy. When I think about the legacy, and you think about when people, again, they say give people their flowers while they're alive. When your village knows you, it's either come get up, wash it behind, and let's go, or it's like I said. I showed up at Ty's house a couple weeks ago. I just needed to get away. I needed to get away. I walked
Yes.
away with some earrings. I walked away with, but it was no questions asked. It was, and I didn't even tell her I was coming because I had reneged so many times that I said, I'm going to wait until I actually get in town and hope she's available. I called her. She's like, yeah, come on by. We had fish and grits. I got earrings, and I just got to exhale. And exactly what the doctor ordered. And that's what you need to create legacy. Because it gets
that's right. And sometimes you need that place to just clear your head.
Right.
Just be. You ain't got to talk to nobody. We ain't got to have no long conversation. Just let me lay in your bed and you go on about your business.
Listen, she was like, oh, you know where your room is. You know where your room. And we hadn't seen each other because of COVID. Right. You know, and so when I was like, I haven't seen you all year. But that's, to me, that's legacy, you know.
Absolutely. And you know, what is that demonstrating to younger people? What is that demonstrating to your kids? That to me, that's I'm leaving a legacy of how to develop and have lasting relationships. What true friendship is about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you think about, you know, all of my friends and my friends that have kids and that don't. All of my nieces, nephews, god kids know my friends because I say, can you pick this one up? Like I pull them all in. Can you bring her here? Can you take her home? So, and then I put them to work. All the young people, oh, you need some help? Send somebody to your house. That's the village too.
Yes.
You need to make some money. You need, okay, this one needs a babysitter. This one needs this. You learn how to earn your keep. And then you also get some help.
Absolutely.
It never stops if we do that.
Yes. It's all inclusive. It's to me, legacy is so much bigger than a house and a car and some money in the bank. It's so much bigger than that. How do you carry yourself? How do you act as a woman or a Christian or as a man of God? How do you carry yourself? That's a great legacy that somebody is watching.
That's right.
And somebody's going to pick up on that.
Yeah. And even that, and growing up being a PK, of course, I knew somebody was always watching. So most of my life, I don't care. However, it made me be okay with being transparent to say, if you were watching and I was doing X, Y, Z, hey, I'm going to own that. I'm talking out of it, you know, but even that transparency, because I think it's a false, it's a unfair expectation to expect perfection out of humans, you know. But I would always say, I'm so glad they didn't have social media back in the day. And then when they got social media, I would say, y'all, I might run for office one day. Don't put this on social media. You know, and they would just crack up laughing. But that mindset came from being a PK. And I may have just been having a glass of wine, but maybe somebody could handle it.
Girl.
You have a glass of wine, you might need to go, what's the liquor?
Yes, honey, you ain't safe. You need to be delivered. Danielle said, speaking of village, can you share what a multi-generational village is like when creating legacy plans?
You know what? I would say in a multi-generational village, which I'm living in, is very much just like I would say a family. Everybody knows their role. I'm the elder sister. I'm the only sister, so I get to say I'm the elder sister. I'm the planner. I'm the strategist. I'm bossy. At the end of the day, they're like, okay, what are we going to do? But I take in their feedback, but I also love the balance because I'm the planner. The men will have a great idea, but maybe not the follow through. So when you talk about creating legacy plans, knowing your role, accepting the strengths and the weaknesses, and complementing each other. So I'm just like, get it done. They're like, yeah, whatever. But then also there's some things I just don't want to do. And they're like, yeah, go sit down. So again, it's a natural vibe. It's a natural partnership when everybody just plays their role. And so the legacy plan, the written part, I still do that. But the inputs, I tell them, this is how much it's going to cost. Here's your fare, pay your fare. So they let me do what I do well, but I tell them, here's your portion. And my responsibility is to produce this legacy plan so they all have it. Just
Wow. So tell me, at this stage of the game, what role does your mom play in creating the legacy?
You know, I believe my mom holds the legacy primarily in the spirit realm for us. And it became really clear when we did the big black camp out, and we went camping, me and my brothers, my nephew. And when I got to see us, and one thing my mom used to always say, when my dad passed away, I don't remember before when he was living, but when my dad passed away, she said, you know, the threefold cord is not easily broken. It didn't mean much then because my mom was good for writing something down. I got journaling from her. So I didn't really take it seriously until he passed. But when we went camping and I saw the manifestation of everything she prayed and what I believe she birthed in the spirit, her job here is done. She don't have to do anything else. Her job here is done. She cultivated it. She was the vessel that carried us, and now it's for us to do the work.
Yeah. Wow. Tell us a little bit again about your businesses and how they can get in touch with you.
Okay. So again, you can find me fitforlegacy.com. That's my legacy focused business, and anything else I do is legacy related. And I'm launching a new television show called Legacy Lifestyles. And we're featuring people like you, like people who may be watching, who are creating legacy, who are giving their legacy a voice and a plan in their community. So that's going to be launching soon, and you'll hear more about it. Again, fitforlegacy.com. You'll see it early next year. It'll be launching. To me, that's the next step.
Cool. All right, you all, you need to put your questions in. We're over halfway finished, and I'm going to need your questions because we're going to end on time because Melissa has another engagement after this. So go ahead and put your questions in so that we don't miss anybody, and I don't miss the questions because they roll up, and once they roll up, I don't see it.
Go.
Right. Let me see if there are any questions on my Facebook page. Since they are trying to block Danielle and her from using my Facebook page.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
She said, praise God for the babysitter that's downstairs right now. Come on, babysitter. I'm telling y'all, like, while you're looking at your Facebook page, I mean, I just think about, I have and anytime I say niece, I have one nephew. Everybody else is a cousin, but they're not old enough to call me cousin, so they get to be nieces. So I have a niece who just moved into an apartment, and she's like, Auntie, I'm so excited. I got my budget. I got my furniture. And when you see them develop, which I'm sure you can relate to with Danielle, when you see the lessons that you felt like may have fallen on deaf ears and they come back and they're like, I remember what you told me. I did my budget. I did this. You're right. That's legacy. That's the life skills. Because just imagine, like, one bad decision could have someone wind up homeless, hopeless. When they have that village to fall back on, they can get back up again. To me, that's what the legacy is.
Yeah.
My responsibility to have as many resources available for the next generation that they can have access to, with some criteria, of course. But I feel like we're, as a community, especially Black people, we're catching up. We're catching up. So that's what keeps me going, right? What can I do to make sure to give somebody else 2 steps ahead when they come behind me?
Wow. Talk a little bit about, I know that legacy is not just life insurance or wills, but talk a little bit about that. I know we don't like to deal with wills, and sometimes we don't leave insurance, but talk a little bit about the importance of those things.
So I would say, again, the foundation, we hear it all the time, you're building a house, you got to have life insurance. That's your foundation. You need that burial policy or the cremation policy, but also If you have a mortgage, you want to pay it off, right? If what will you give your family to be able to live on once you're gone? So a lot of times, again, in our community, you had the policy guy who came by to get just enough to bury you, but what about the living part, right? So with life insurance, to me, that's your foundation. And a lot of times people don't understand how affordable it is. There are life insurance policies for the very healthy. There are life insurance policies for people who have medical issues. But if you have, something that you think couldn't be covered, you can get a burial policy with some conditions so that your family doesn't have to do, a fundraiser, right? So to me, the foundation is life insurance. I definitely the GoFundMe, but when you think about having to do a GoFundMe for an 18-year-old who may have been in a car wreck, they could have gotten a $50,000 policy for pennies on the dollar. You can get $100,000 of coverage on a healthy young person for maybe $18 a month. We waste that on a bad meal.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Yeah. So the foundation is life insurance all day. Once you've done that, then you definitely need to have a living trust. We hear about wills a lot, but the will only gets you a ticket to court to have the conversation in probate court. You really want to have that living trust so that all of your assets, your bank accounts, anything that you want to protect goes to your trust. So you get to dictate what happens with your assets before you pass away. For some of the people's current president, the reason he's not paying taxes, the reason why he on paper has nothing, I guarantee you he has a trust. So on paper, he's broke, but there's a trust somewhere that everything is falling under, and it's protected by the law, and they can't touch it.
Wow. Danielle said, what are some of the things we should include in our legacy plan?
So we talked about the life insurance, the living trust, but then also if you have a business, what's your succession plan? How do you want it to be run? So there's a book called The E-Myth, and it really reminds you to, even if you're a one-person shop, do your org chart. Make sure you have your finance department, your CFO, your CEO, your COO, put it on paper, and then start building your succession plan. So when something happens to you and your life insurance policy that your business took out on you can pay for your retirement, now you can hire the staff to continue the vision, right?
That's amazing. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So those are the policies that I write. I am licensed to write insurance, but I focus on key person insurance. You're a business person, and unless you want to have a one-generation business, you need a key person policy on you so that the business goes on. Who's running the publishing company when you're gone? So your policy pays the business to hire the staff to keep it going, generation after generation.
Wow. So will there be a workshop on making sure we're not over or underinsured?
So I do several workshops. So there's on my website, fitforlegacy.com, I do several workshops. There's a VIP legacy weekend specifically around under or overinsured. That's part of the workshop. Then you want to do like the 10 times rule. Let's say you make $50,000 a year. You want at least 10 times that. That's the easy calculation. You can never be overinsured, in my opinion. Because if you have the trust set up correctly, that means more money for your legacy, right?
Wow.
If you have it set up correctly, you can say, I want to donate 50% of my estate to this nonprofit, right? So to me, you can never be overinsured. However, it depends on your age too. So when you think about two types of insurance, you've got term insurance and you've got whole life insurance. Whole life insurance is that policy book, the policy man that used to come to the door. Okay. A lot of times our people would use it as an investment. Maybe we couldn't get a bank account. We didn't have a savings account. So we would buy a whole life policy. You would earn a little bit of money on it, and then you could get a loan against it if you needed to. But that's not a financially wise first choice unless that's your option. So term policies are going to be 15, 20, 25, sometimes 35 years long. During that time, That's when you're working on your investments. That's when you're making sure you get out of debt. That's when you're making sure you have a cash flow strategy so that when that 20-year term is up, burying you is not a problem because you got the money, right?
Wow.
So focus on that legacy building while you have that active term life insurance so that when it expires, again, you don't need the insurance to bury you. Now the insurance, if I die between now and 33 years from now, I'm covered, right? If I die 50 years from now, I'm still covered because I'm laying the groundwork now to make sure my investments pay me then.
Wow. Yeah, we're gonna need a workshop on this. Cause this is so much info. This is awesome. Also, I never thought about myself as needing key insurance, key person insurance. I never.
You need it. You need it. And you got to think about when you start thinking about even things like building business credit. And when you don't want to use your social security number to qualify for business credit, they're looking at your business financials. So they're going to say, okay, Sonya, if something happens to you, what makes your business a smart risk for us to take? Well, Mr. Banker, it's because I got a key person policy. I've got my liabilities covered. I got my cash flow strategy. Here's my plan.
Whew, wow. Well, you got me thinking. Wow. I got some work I gotta do.
Yeah. And even that's affordable. I mean, and I'm telling you, I just think, again, we don't know. And we've often been encouraged to do whole life. Again, I have both. I have whole life and term life. I think there's a need for both, but it's more than just bury me.
Yeah.
What else? Right? It's the so what? What comes next?
Wow. Oh my goodness. This is awesome. This is more than I expected. I don't this is just so valuable. Wow. So do you write key person insurance as well?
I do. I write key person policies. I write all types of insurance policies. Again, but I started with a conversation. So it's Sonya, what's your vision? What does success look like? What should it look like when you pass on? And now let's write that policy, right? So it's a tool to create your legacy plan.
Whew, okay. Well, I'm blown away, and I don't even know what my next question is. I'm sorry. This is very unprofessional of me, but I'm just
this is valuable.
This is, yes, most valuable. So what do you say? So to recap, we do need a will, but
Absolutely.
we do more than that. We need a living trust.
You need a living trust. And see, when you do the living trust and it's done correctly, you have what's called a pour over will. So let's say I've got my living trust today, and let's say a year from now, I get a mansion that I didn't have when I did my living trust. That pour over will says, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm using layman's terms, but that pour over will says anything that you acquired between the time you established the trust and then it's still covered under the trust. That pour over says, take that and pour over everything else and bring it back into the trust. So the will is a part of the trust.
Okay. So the trust is like the umbrella and the will goes up under. Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Pour over will. So when you start working with an estate lawyer, they pull your trust together, and part of the documents, I don't have it up here, part of that binder is the pour over will, the certification, all the steps. When you're working with the right type of lawyer, all the steps you need to do to make sure your estate is covered is in that living trust document that you get back. It's not a document, it's literally a binder about this thick.
Wow. You all, if y'all don't have any questions, I'm going to continue on with my personal session here. And this is all a part of legacy.
Yeah.
Well, as I told you at the beginning, when my sister died, we didn't know. We knew that she had life insurance, but that's all. We didn't know any of her final wishes. We knew absolutely nothing. But on the other hand, we just thought that, God was going to raise her up, and it did not happen.
Right.
And when my dad died, he finally gave in. I had him sign his will on Wednesday, and he died on Saturday.
Wow.
That's how long it took for me to get him to even have the conversation. So someone says estate planning. That's something we don't talk about in our community.
No, we don't. And when we do, it's almost like, again, classism. We think we have to have a lot of money to have the conversation. Like Danielle said at the beginning, we think it's only for the rich people. No, your estate can be these 4 walls, right? But even that is breaking down the psychological barriers that told us we didn't have an estate. Because when you start talking about legacy and you start talking about the 400 plus years of the things that were stolen from our estate and the things that told us that we weren't assets and we weren't valuable, and I'm sorry, we were assets to their estate, right? So now it's just the unlearning even of that to say no.
Yes.
So that's why we didn't do estate planning. We were just trying to survive. We were trying to keep our family together. But again, for those of us who are now playing catch up to create that legacy plan so that my nephew, he asked questions, my son, he asked questions. So why are we doing this? And why is this important? Because it's redeeming the time.
Yes.
Conversations about.
We are still dealing with post-traumatic stress slave syndrome. We're still dealing with stuff from the slavery, and people don't believe that. They don't believe that some of the things that we do stem from way back then. Some of our mindsets stem from back then. And there have been studies to show that because of slavery, some of our DNA has changed.
Because your body will adapt.
Yes. And we have to undo some of that stuff. We have to undo all of that stuff.
With intention.
This is part of it. The psychology of legacy. That's something. You're right. You're absolutely right. This is so vital for our community. If we would just have the conversation.
And that's the thing. That's the key. And again, that's where the village comes in. You said, your dad didn't want to get burned. I didn't know that my dad wanted to be cremated. Thankfully, we had my mom knew. But just imagine if we didn't have a strong, a tight-knit family, that could have been a contentious point where we said, don't burn up my daddy, But her. She said that's what he wanted. Right. And so just something that's simple. You think about when people pass away, there's always not always, but a lot of times there's that arguing and mama didn't want I want my pearls. And I'm like, who cares? But again, the psychology of legacy. If you've always been property and you've always been valued according to how much money you bring in and how much money they can get for you, you immediately go into capitalist stuff when somebody passes away. And I used to always say, like, the memories are what matter. I don't remember how much my dad spent on me. I remember the memories.
Yes. And you remember the impact. Those things that are important, that will last forever. You can spend that dollar one time and it's over.
And then you spend $1 to, cover up something that's hurting anyway most of the time. Right? You stress, you go eat some ice cream, you go buy this, you go buy that, instead of dealing with, like you said, whatever the traumatic response may be.
Absolutely. Wow. This has been fantastic. You all, we have 7 minutes and I will go ahead and take your questions.
Look, you know what though? It's funny she said that. So Danielle said the ish hit the fan at one point. And my dad, like you said, even with with Danielle's mama, Lisa, my dad had insurance, but there was no succession plan that he told us. But he left clues. He had my mom reading a How to Become a CEO book. I believe that he knew his time was coming. He didn't know when. So he had to read the book. He had the life insurance. But when he went, it was like, what now?
Right. Yep.
What now? Yep. And then, I remember I would have people say, I had a dream about your dad, and I'm a very big believer in the prophetic realm and dreams. And, one young lady said, your dad said, I would come back if I could, but I can't. His time was up, and But then I think about, again, the intentional things. Like I brought out more examples. Like this is January 11th, 1987, sermon notes. So when he thought he was just taking notes.
Yeah.
Legacy. He didn't know in 1987,
Yes.
when I was 10 years old, that he was going to be gone. He didn't know. So that's, again, back to what you said. And one thing that he used to say, you know, we accepted our assignment before we came into this realm.
Yeah. I got to find that CD. I got to find it. And I'm going to tell
y'all. Danielle's mama transcribed it. I got the notes. Literally, I just read it probably 30 days ago. 1997, he did that message.
Wow. Can you tell us about grits and porridge?
Grits and porridge. Okay. So I, myself, and two other young ladies, two sisters that have become really close with, we started a podcast called Grits and Porridge. And even that was born out of the village, born out of community. We were having a conversation about, you know, the state of Black people and how we can further Black liberation, and how we can undo some of that PTSD, how we can, you know, talk about the psychology and how to pick up from the civil rights movement, all the things where they think that we just started today. No, they started that how many years ago? Mm-hmm. So we're having a conversation about this person. We just got to do something. We should do a podcast. And so we were talking about food one day. And so Carrie, so they both have Caribbean roots. And then they were talking about grits versus porridge. And so Krishna says, I don't do no sugar grits. If you do me some sugar grits, I'm going to cuss you out, because she's got Southern roots. So she has Caribbean and Southern roots. And I'm like, well, my parents are from the Midwest. I'm going to eat cream of wheat with some butter and sugar, rice with some butter and sugar, or grits with cheese, depending on what I eat it all. I'm just greedy. And so Carrie says, I hate the grit. I hate the grit. I don't like the grit. Give me some porridge. And so Krishna says, it's all cornmeal, sugar. It's just how you make it. So we were like, yeah, that's the name of the podcast, Grits and Porridge. And that's how the name came.
Wow.
You know, it's centered on Black liberation. I mean, but it's heavy on education, heavy on laughter. And, you know, we go deep on there sometimes too. But even that is just, it's legacy in the making that I couldn't have done by myself. Definitely birthed out of community and the village.
So my final question to you is, what now?
What now is just
that's the question concerning your legacy. What now?
Pulling it all together, because as you started this conversation, I do quite a bit, and I want to pull it together and make sure that, again, if my time comes, they can pick up the pieces. I've got the basics in place. I've got the living trust. I've got the financials. I even have my org chart. I have that. But I've started so many other projects since I wrote that. Now I need to update it, right? And so what now? What next is, you know, making sure I just get it in one area, and that there's a plan to follow, and then continue to empower young people to kind of carry it on while I'm living. So that's
Wow. All right, you all, this has been an amazing conversation tonight. Thank you so much, Mrs. West. Your vast knowledge on legacy is amazing. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you taking the time to share with us tonight. This is just valuable information. There is no other way to put it. I would ask, if you are listening to this on the playback, make sure you make some comments so that we'll know that you stopped by to listen and give us your feedback. We're excited again for the conversation tonight. Want to let you know that we're taking off next week, because next week is Turkey Week. So, and I'm excited about cooking my big meal that Danielle says that we have to cook. We cannot go outside of the norm when it comes to Thanksgiving. So we'll be having the traditional stuff. And so, as I said, I'll be off all next week. Somebody said this was a good and much needed. You are absolutely right. This information was vital to us, to anybody really, but especially to our community, because we don't like to deal with it. We don't like to talk about it. And furthermore, as Melissa said, we think we don't have anything to leave. We do have something to leave.
Right.
Yeah, we have something physically to leave as well as emotionally to leave. It's just so important that we take our legacy seriously.
Yeah.
Send us a family calendar invite. Okay.
Me or mom? I'm confused.
Send us a family calendar invite. I don't know what that is, but okay, we'll do something. Melissa, any final thoughts before we close out?
Besides, thank you. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. And I just say, again, give your legacy a voice, give it a plan. And that's all I have.
Wow. Thank you again so much. Tell your mom I said hello.
I will.
And I love you so much. All right, y'all. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Y'all take care. Make sure you wear your mask and stay safe.
Yes.
You stay safe. You know what the deal is. Stay safe.
Double mask, triple mask. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.